Hey everyone, welcome back to Day in Brelandia. My name is Brianna, this is Joy, and we are doing an update on how homeschool is going for us. I've done some previous videos about the curriculum that we are planning on using, and so this is going to be an updated video of how all that is going, what we like, what we don't like, and how homeschool is going for us so far. So, how do you like homeschool so far?
So far, I like homeschool more than public school.
Why?
Because in public school, you don't get to do Disney days and devotions, and also you don't get to have field trips whenever you want. But in homeschool, you can do those things.
Yeah. And so, do you think you would ever want to go back to public school?
No.
Why not?
Because homeschool is more fun.
It's more fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you don't like about homeschool?
No.
Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So for our Bible curriculum and devotion, we have been going through these books. This one is really great because in science we're learning about space, and so it's great because it has devotions for space. So we went through all of those, and so we're finishing up space right now, and so we already finished up it on our devotions, but we're almost done with it in science as well. And then this one has been really good too. I did want to get the Rebecca Spooner one instead after I had already bought this. I saw hers and I was like, that looks really cool. But I'm really glad that I went ahead and just stuck with this one, even though I will be able to switch over to the Rebecca Spooner shortly because this is only like 30 something lessons.
It's only 35.
Yeah, 35 lessons. And so it's gonna go quickly, so we'll definitely be able to get to that one too. But I really like this because it's just intertwined with our lesson so well, even though it has nothing to do with our lesson. And same with this book. So in this book it talked about how I can't talk. It talks about how God created the earth, and then it connected that with space. And then the same day we watched the Apollo documentary on Disney Plus, and they ended up saying the same things about how God created the heavens and the earth, and they read those verses out of Genesis. And so that was really cool to see that connected. And then even this book is what we were reading. Oh, sorry, I have it upside down. Sorry, I didn't mean So this book we're doing as a bedtime book. Pre-warning though, if you do want to use this as a bedtime storybook, some of the stories in here are a little bit gruesome and
Scary.
So I think she was a good age because she really understood that this was what?
Fiction.
Yeah, I made sure she knew it was a fiction book before we even got started. Mostly I was trying to make sure of that because it does talk about other gods and religions and things like that in here, because it goes through Greek mythology, it goes through some Native American cultures.
Spider!
Where?
There, over there.
I don't see it.
I do.
Where?
Ah, it's got legs and it's on the ground. Long leg spider.
That kind won't hurt you. Alright, so it goes through Greek mythology, some Native American cultures, South American cultures. It does a lot of African and Australian as well. And so it has some really neat stories. I really like the Native American ones in here. They were so cute, little stories that were actually perfect for bedtime. The Native American ones in here are perfect for bedtime, but like the Greek mythology ones, not so much. And also I recommend you know your Greek mythology names before reading this book, because otherwise you'll be stumbling a lot.
Yep.
That's what I did, huh?
Yep.
But so in that, it talks about how Pharaoh, when he died, he thought he was going to become the sun. And then so we're learning about Moses in this book. And so it also mentions in one of the Bible verses that they have you read that the Pharaoh thought he would become the sun when he died. And so it was kind of cool because both were connecting, even though we believe that God is her true God and that God created the sun, because it would make no sense if Pharaoh's still on earth and there's a sun in the sky. So that makes no sense, huh?
No.
Alright, but I think it's great because it also talks about how Moses was sent to live with the Egyptians and the Pharaoh, so that way he could understand their cultures and he would learn their ways, so that way he could be better to free his people further on down the road. And so it kind of like was good for me to hear, because when I read some of those Greek mythology books, I'm like, I don't know, should I be reading this? Should I not be? But I think it's important for her to understand how other cultures and other religions work. And so it kind of just like set that for me, like, yes, you do need to be doing these too. Alright, so after that, I will usually have her pick whatever she wants to learn next. But we do like to put that at the beginning of our day. I think it's important to have it set up that way. So that's why we do that first. But then the rest of the day, she gets to pick what she wants to do pretty much when she wants to do it. And
So usually I pick science next.
yeah. Because is that your favorite subject?
One of my favorites.
What happened to our science? Here it is.
There we go.
Alright, so for science, we've been doing this book, and this book starts out with going over the basics of science, of like range of motion, solid, liquids, gases, all sorts of just like your basic science, the motion and things like that. And so she has been learning this for the past 2 years in kindergarten and in first grade, and so I'm like, let's just move on already. And she talks about that kind of stuff in our day-to-day life all the time, and so I know she understands that part of the science. So I was like, yeah, let's just move on. And so we moved on to space. Space was what came next, but this is the only page in this book about space. And so I wanted to go further in depth. I really wanted her to know more about the sun, the stars, and all the planets and things like that. So that's why instead we just paused here and I checked out books on each thing. So we got books on the stars, we got books on the sun and all the planets, and we checked them out from the library. And as we went through them, we would paint on a little thing, and then we would stick it on this big board, and I will show that at the end of this video, so stick around for that. And I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. You're passing your sneezes to me.
Oops.
Excuse me. Alright, so it's been great for her to just be able to go through and learn about each planet specifically. And so now she's actually learning more about space than just reading that there is a space. And then next, it'll go on to Earth, and we're almost done with space. We were just waiting on our last book to arrive, which we just picked up from the library. Hey, you're a little man. So we are waiting for the last book to be picked up, and yes, now we got it, and then we'll be able to move on to Earth, and that'll be our next thing that we go over. Along with the space, we've been learning about the moon. So this is her moon journal. She loves cats, and I thought this was perfect to make for a moon journal. But the thing is, this is how most of the days have gone so far. We've had so many cloudy and rainy days that it's just all been cloudy for the most part. We did get to see the moon a few times for this moon cycle. So I'll show that. So we did get to see it on the day that it was a full moon. But we haven't got to see it throughout the whole moon cycle. And so I think I'm just going to pause it where we're at, even though we're not completely done with the moon cycle. But that I want to pause it and just wait a couple moon cycles and try again and see if it works out. But that's what we've been learning to learn about the phases of the moon. And so there's that. But so it's pretty much a fail. But you can't control that. So we're going to try again and hope for better next time.
And usually next I choose history.
Because that's one of your other favorite ones, right?
Yeah.
Why do you like history?
Because we get to learn about the Native American ways.
Yeah. And so with that, the Native Americans in this book, which we got for history, and like I said in the previous video that I talked about this book in, we were just going to be using this more as a guideline, and it's a good thing we are, because for each Native American region, they only have like a paragraph on it, and so it does not go in depth at all. It just is like they lived in this house and in this area pretty much, and like maybe one or two of the things that they were known for, like the Southwest with their jewelry and stuff. And so I want her to actually learn about the Native American history and their culture, and I'm not going to get that with this. And so I got some books from the library. Although our library doesn't have very much in Native American history books, or at least in her age range. They do have some like more college level books, and I did check those books out too, but after just skimming through them, they definitely are going a little bit more than what I think she's ready to learn just yet. But I do want her to learn more about Native American culture. Unfortunately, in our area, that's kind of been wiped out. And even you can even tell just by going to the library that they don't have that much. It's just a small section, from what I could tell, because we are only able to do, well, you can go in now, I guess, but they're doing like the curbside pickup thing, and so we've been doing it that way. And so from what I can tell online with just all the searches that I've done, there's very little Native American books at our library. And even just like our area, there's just, everything's just been wiped out. And so just trying to find and Googling like the closest Native American history site, we do have one that's like an hour away, but they're not open, and the other ones are over 600 miles away. So we can't do that. Well, I mean, we could, but
that's not a day trip.
Yeah, we'd have to make that an actual like trip. So we don't really have very much here to do. So I've been trying to do as much research as I can. We did find a couple books at the library that we really liked and helped us, but I still didn't get it from the perspective that I want her to learn from. Because for me, I grew up in the north, south, east, and west, and so in the north and west, Native American culture is still like thriving today, and there's so much there, and there's so much history. All the historic sites are preserved. You can go and you can talk to Native Americans and be like, hey, tell me about your history, and they will tell you about it. And you can just go to all these sites, see how things were. You can listen to all the stories that they have to tell. And it's so rich and it's full there. And even in the libraries there's so much stuff. And so it's getting a little frustrating for me to try to find the way that I want her to learn it. And so I'm even trying to like make up my own worksheets for that. And so if any of you guys have a great website to help you man, I can't talk. To help you make your own worksheets, let me know, because I feel like that's the route that I'm going to have to take in order to teach her the way I want her to be taught. But we did find a cookbook for Native American, and with that cookbook they give kind of like a brief history on the recipe and tell you some of the stories behind it. And so that was pretty cool. And what was your favorite recipe that we made from that?
The Native American chickens. Yeah.
And that smelled really good too, because they had like cinnamons and cloves and things like that in with this recipe, and it was really good. What?
Nothing.
And so that was fun to do. And then with that, she's learning about science and math as well. So that's really great for her to be able to do it that way. Then next, should we do math or English? Oh, and if you guys have any other recommendations on how to get like a legit Native American history taught, then that would be great. And then we are going to be just using this more as a guideline and going more in depth into each subject. So that's what we're doing, and that's how it's going to go. Alright, so now for language arts, we've been doing the good and the beautiful handwriting. And so she's been doing really well with this. And each section has like a little activity to do with it, and it's kind of like the Mr. Miyagi way of doing it with the wax on, wax off. I think that's how you say his name. Miyagi. Pretty sure it's Miyagi. And so then they do reinforce the regular handwriting as well as teaching the cursive too, so she gets that practice. And it follows, I don't know if you'll be able to see, in a rainbow pattern. And so whenever she's learning how to trace, she just knows to like sing the rainbow song in her head, and she'll be able to get through it and know which way to go and hold her pencil. And so I really like that about this book. Then we've been doing this grammar book. How have you been liking this?
I've been liking it a lot.
Yeah. And so with this, it gives like very good instruction in the instructions area. And it tells you exactly what you need to know, how you need to learn the rules and things like that. And she's able to do this for the most part independently. I'd say like 99% independently, because every so often she does have a question. But
yeah,
it's great that I can just sit her down and she can do this, and then I can like go pretend to fold laundry or something. And another great thing about this is that it gives actual facts. So for like normal grammar books, they give you like a made-up sentence, but this, they're actually giving you a fact. So she's been learning about nocturnal animals as well as grammar and like handwriting skills and things like that. And so it's been really cool that she's actually learning something else other than just her grammar. And then, nope, here it is. For reading comprehension, we've been doing this book, and what do you think of this book?
I think it's really fun to read. It's almost just like the movie.
Yeah, and I think this is a great book for her, especially because she's a dog lover and she has her own dogs that she loves so much. So being able to read about another girl who has similar interests is great. The only thing that I don't like and I need to change is the comprehension workbook that we got with this is not very great. It kind of has things all over the place. And so instead of going like, today you read chapter 1 through 3, here's the questions for those. It's more like, here's some questions, and then you got to flip a couple more pages to find the other questions for chapter 1 through 3, and then like, you know, it's just like, no. I just want it to run smoothly and be all in order instead of flipping all over the book. So I gotta find something else to do for comprehension on this one. So if anybody has any ideas, please let me know, because I don't like the book that we got. This book's great, but the comprehension workbook, not so much. Then for math, here it is.
We forgot to show spelling.
Oh, we did forget to show spelling. So before we get to that, let's show some spelling. We got this spelling for her and we really like it. It's a lot of fun. They have a lot of neat activities in here as well, and then they have some suggestions in the teacher book of more ways to practice spelling with your kids. And so they have lots of fun ideas. And the one thing about this, it has it where you do like a preview of the words. So they kind of get like a practice test before they start. And so that way you can see which words you actually need to work on more than the others. And for her, I think she gets a little frustrated with that because she wants to be able to get them all correct all the first time. But I don't want her to, because I didn't want to get a spelling book that teaches her how to spell words that she already knows how to spell, right?
Right.
So even though she gets a little frustrated with it, and in a way it's like, well, you need to get them wrong the first time. That's the way we know we got you at the right level.
Yeah.
And then what happens whenever we do the actual test, though? You get a what on it?
100% correct.
Right. So she's gotten both her tests that we've done so far, because we've only been able to do 2 lessons in this so far, but she gets 100% on them. And so the games and activities in here are actually working on helping her learn how to spell the words that she has a hard time with. So that's great, right?
Yeah.
Alright, and then this is what we got for math to begin with. And this is actually really great. We really like this book, right?
Yeah.
And even same with the Becca English grammar book, the instructions are very well. She can do this pretty much 99% independently and still do amazingly with it. She might have a question here and there, but overall she did really great on her own, got them all right, and did such a great job. But what, bud?
My friend Sarah was me.
Okay. But okay. Okay, you want to share with Jackson with your cars?
Yeah.
Okay, you hear that? He wants to share with Jackson with his car, so that means we need to set up a play date.
Yeah, we gotta set up a play date real soon.
Yeah. Alright.
I'm gonna set up a play date really fast!
Okay. Let me finish this video, okay? And we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Alright, so with this though, there were a few questions in here that you did need the teacher workbook for. And I was trying to be frugal and not get the teacher workbook and just do this. And of course we could just skip over it, but I don't like leaving them blank. I want to have it all completed. And so I would need to get the teacher workbook with this. And so since I needed to buy another book, I decided to go ahead and get Beast Academy. Were you going to say something?
And Beast Academy is more challenging than the Abeka Math.
Yeah. So I wanted to try Beast Academy because I had found this after I had already bought this. And I was like, well, that looks like really fun. I want to do that math now. And so since I was going to have to buy another book anyways, I decided, why not? Let's just give this a try, see what we think. And if we don't like it, since we did really enjoy this one, we can just always go back if we didn't like it. And since this one is said to be more challenging, I did go ahead and start her at the 2A. And I'm glad I did, because the 2A is more challenging than the 3 of Abeka Math. So I'm glad I did go with the 2A. And I figured if it was going to be too easy, she would just go through it quickly. And then it ended up being right at the level that she needed. So that's great with that. And it's really fun too, because I didn't show this in the other video because I didn't have it yet. But it is all taught through a comic book. So it's a comic book that does the teaching. And then you do, this book is the workbook where you do all the work. And so with this, and it'll have it in the back where it'll have the answers. And it gives, with the answers, they give you how they got the answers along with it. So it doesn't just give the answers, it gives you the steps they took to find that answer. And so that way, if your kid does need help, you can just follow along what they did, and then it'll help you get to that answer. And so I really like it. And these are you're able to rip them out, so that way you don't have to like worry about your kid cheating and trying to get the answer. So you can just rip them out and keep them off to the side, and then have them be able to do this on their own. And then even also it will have hints in the back. So like if they're really struggling, they can go back and they can look at like the hints in the back and see if it'll spark anything for them. All right, next we do on Wednesdays a Disney day. And so all the other stuff we do every day except for Wednesday. Wednesday we kind of take a break from it all and just take an easy day, but we're still learning on Disney days because we go through this book. And this, oh, I forgot to ask you, which one of these do you like better? The Becca or the Beast?
Beast Academy.
Yeah. So, and I think she likes that better just because it does challenge her to the level that she wanted to be challenged. So with this, it's from an idea to Disney, how imagination built a world of magic. And I got this originally because she sometimes seems like she's a little bit scared to use her imagination. And I wanted her to know that it's okay, and sometimes it's fun and can lead to amazing things if you use your imagination. And so we've actually gotten, this book's been great. We've gotten way more out of this book than I thought. Each chapter has a lesson in itself. And so we've learned things from like the stock market to investments into how to make a profit and all sorts of other things. It led us into a great discussion about 9/11 because they evacuated their park in 30 minutes.
And that is it.
And without raising any panic. So they evacuated their entire park, which is like a crazy buttload of acres, in less than 30 minutes and no panic. So that's pretty impressive. So that led to a great discussion about 9/11, and it just so happened to be the Wednesday before 9/11, and so it just led perfect timing throughout. And also, like, so it talked about how he created Oswald first, and how they have him Oswald hidden inside Zootopia, and then one other movie that we haven't watched yet. It's just not really our kind of movie. It's probably the only Disney movie that I haven't watched. I forget the name of it, but it's the one with the big white guy, the white balloon marshmallow looking guy. So he's in that movie as well. But yeah, so we watched that, and then we watched Snow White, because Snow White is the first one that he took out a loan to make, and how he ended up making a crazy amount of profit off of that. And then we watched, what else did we watch?
The Little Mermaid.
The Little Mermaid. We watched The Little Mermaid.
We watched
Steamboat Willie or something. Is that what it was called? Or Willie Steamboat? I think it's Steamboat Willie.
Yeah. And we also watched Mary Poppins.
Oh yeah, we watched Mary Poppins in here too, because it talks about that in here as well. So in each video we've gotten a lesson out of, and so on our Disney days, that's what we watch during our lunchtime. Is we'll get our lunch and we'll get cozy on the couch and we'll watch the movie while we eat our lunch.
Yeah.
And then she also will get to pick either working on a Madlib book
or my workbook.
Her workbook. And I think she's only done the workbook so far. But they're just all easy lessons that she can do all on her own, but yet she's still learning stuff and practicing stuff, but it's not like quite as challenging as any of her other stuff. So it's a little bit of a break, but yet she's still doing a little something and having fun with the Disney characters involved with it. And then for read alouds, we were doing that Star book like I showed earlier, but now we are doing Anne of Green Gables. What do you think about this book?
I think it's a really good book.
Yeah. And so this has been fun. This has also been a good one to teach her about imagination and all the wonders that you can create with your imagination. And so we're doing that, and I really love these book covers. I want to get more of the book covers like this. We did pick up The Call of the Wild at our bookstore last week. We keep finding them on sale. So this one we only got for $4.97, and same with the Call of the Wild.
Yeah.
And so we'll probably do that one next. But we're having a lot of fun. I want her to get all these classic books. I think they're fun. Much more fun than the classic books that we had to read in school, like To Kill a Mockingbird. I know a lot of people like that book, but that book was a snore fest for me. Alright, so that's all we have. So let me go ahead and pause and I'll show you our other. Alright, and so here is that space wall that we've created so far. So we just need Neptune and Pluto. That's all we need left. But we'll probably get to those today, actually.
I want to take a picture.
You want to take a picture? And so we just made this out of a box that our freezer came in. We just got a new freezer because our old one died and we needed something to be able to stockpile some food up with. So we did that. So that is all that we've been doing. Do you like homeschool?
I like homeschool.
Yeah, we've been really enjoying it. I don't think there's any way we're ever going to go back, right? No, we love it too much. So that's homeschool. So far, we really love it and enjoy it. So if you have any questions or suggestions for some of those things that we talked about, I'd love to hear it down below. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you can find when we come out with more videos. I think we might be doing another one soon, right?
Yep.
All right, bye.